4 out of 5 pensioners who are expected to lose out on the winter fuel payments are on or below the poverty line, according to AgeUK.
Yes, the charity is now urgently calling on the government to expand the automatic payment to those who receive benefits other than pension credit.
Well, we're joined now by Labour Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy. Good morning. Before we get into that, I know you want to talk about a new film scheme, so let's do that quickly and then we'll get on to winter fuel payment. What are you announcing today?
Well, thank you so much. We're announcing today that we're putting rocket boosters under the independent film industry in the UK. We're laying legislation to provide tax relief for independent films, which will help them to attract private investment from all over the world and create the next Danny Boyles and Gurinder Chadders and Steve McQueens of the future. Film is one of our fastest growing industries. It's one of our greatest exports and it creates good jobs and growth all over the country. I know you want to talk about the winter fuel payment and are very keen to get onto that, but this is the way in which we're not just fixing the foundations of our economy, but we're helping to raise living standards and put money back into people's pockets in every part of the country, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
Well, good luck with that. Look, I mean, you have been a campaigner for the poorest in society for a very long time. So it seems rather odd that you're sitting there defending a policy that the likes of AgeUK, Citizens Advice, I've been campaigning on it myself, are pulling their hair out about. 780,000 pensioners on below £11,400 a year are not going to get the winter fuel payment because they don't get pension credit. There are systems that could be put in place to fix it. Why are you defending this?
Well, we are working really hard to put systems in place to fix it. Part of the intention behind the move that we've made is to deal with the £22 billion economic black hole. I won't dwell on that too much, Martin, because I know we've made that argument. I know you want to talk about the poorest, but making sure that we're targeting help at those who most need it, which is why we've introduced this change to the winter fuel payment so that not everybody is universally eligible for it. But we've had a huge drive to get the poorest pensioners onto pension credit. We've had 115% uplift in the numbers that are claiming over the last couple of months because of the work that Liz Kendall's been doing at the Department for Work and Pensions. And there's a particular group that I'm concerned about, that we're concerned about as a government, that group who are just above the threshold, who don't qualify, but who are at the lowest end of the state pension. And we're making sure that for those people, we've extended the Household Support Fund so that councils like mine in Wigan do have something to reach for if people are struggling but don't qualify.
There is a huge flaw in what you've just said, Lisa. Right, and the fact is, before we even get on those above the threshold, let's talk about those below the threshold. Those people who are eligible for pension credit, 780,000 of them, who you believe should get the winter fuel payment of up to £300, who are already missing last year's cost of living payment. Now, I've been shouting about this longer and louder than anybody else about getting pension credit. Yes, there's an uplift of 115%, but that's an increase of a maximum £20,000 a month. It would take you 4 years before all these people were claiming pension credit. The poorest pensioners, the poorest, under £11,400, you believe they should get pension credit and winter fuel, but they're not going to claim. They're the hardest to reach. You're not writing individual letters to them. You're not linking it to attendance allowance and housing benefit. There's lots you could do. So to try and talk about we're targeting the poorest, the truth is you're not targeting them. Why aren't you writing them bloody letters?
Ooh, well, we are actually.
Sorry, apologies.
No, it's fine. And I know how strongly you feel about it, Martin. I know that you've been in to see the Chancellor, and we do take very seriously what you say, what AgeUK says, and we're working with the widest range of people to make sure that we do reach those people.
But
the truth is, there's
Lisa,
never...
You have to accept you're not going to reach them because those are the people hardest to reach. So how are you going to protect them?
In fairness, you just said to me, you're not writing bloody letters. Well, we are. And I just wanted to explain that because I don't want people to think that for a moment we're going to leave people high and dry. For that group of people, there's never been a drive to get them onto pension credit. And you're right that it is extremely challenging. You have people, for example, who've got dementia or other reasons why they've not applied for pension credit. They need far more support to be able to navigate the system. That's why we're working with local councils all over the country. My council in Wigan is writing out to everybody who they think is eligible. We've gone through all sorts of routes, like we have people who are on the assisted bin collection list who we've identified as maybe a particularly vulnerable group. We're going door to door to make sure that if we're not getting a response, that we're going and knocking on people's doors and finding out whether they're eligible or not. And we're working with councils all over the country to make sure that happens. We think it's better to do that at community level rather than at government level. But we will, of course, adjust that if it doesn't work. So far, though, the evidence is that it is.
No, so I'm sorry, I disagree on that. So first of all, are all councils doing it? But you say the evidence is. You're talking an uplift of 115%. You've gone from 20,000 a month claiming pension credit to 40,000 a month. But there are 780,000 people. You would need an exponential rise in the number of people claiming pension credit for those pensioners to claim this year. We have to accept, you have to accept, there will be many hundreds of thousands of the poorest pensioners under £11,400 income you will not reach this year. You are taking money out of their hands. Do you accept the truth? The reality is that's what will practically happen. I'm saying it, AgeUK is saying it, others are saying it. So let's be honest, you're willing to accept that collateral damage of hundreds of thousands of poorest pensioners, many on dementia, not getting the winter fuel payment?
No, I'm not willing to accept that.
But it's going to happen.
It's one of the reasons why we've extended the cut-off point to apply until April next year, so that even if people don't realise right now, despite this sort of conversation happening on national media, even if they don't see this, if they don't realise, if they don't respond to the letters, if we don't manage to catch them door to door in the run-up to Christmas and they find out later that they were eligible, they can still apply and they will get it backdated. And the reason that we've done that and the reason that we made this announcement early and we haven't wasted a moment in going out to people is to make sure that people know that even if they don't apply immediately, they don't have to worry about putting the heating on this winter. We are working in every creative way possible to make sure that this is done. We've inherited a situation where for 14 years there has been no drive to get the poorest people onto pension credit and get them the money that they're entitled to, but we are absolutely determined to solve it. And I don't accept your characterisation that we're indifferent to this. I couldn't care more about this, neither could the Chancellor, and we're doing everything that we can with the Work and Pension Secretary to deal with the fact that we've inherited this enormous black hole and this appalling economic inheritance, to fix the problems the country's got, to get the economy moving and to protect the poorest people.
Secretary, it isn't a characterisation that you're indifferent, it's a characterisation that you have to accept that there will still be probably over 500,000 people that you do not reach. And let's be straight, when you're talking about there's been no campaign on pension credit, it is your government who chose to link the winter fuel payment to pension credit. You chose that metric, not anybody else. You can't put that on the past government. I just want you to say to me, how many people do you think by next April will be eligible for pension credit, so under £11,400 income, the poorest in society, and will not have claimed it? Because I'm willing to bet a lot of money it'll still be substantially north of over 500,000. So you have to accept that. And what are you going to do for those people who'll never apply because they're not in a mental position to answer the 240-question potential list of applying for pension credit?
Well, Martin, I don't want to make a bet with you. I want to work together to fix it. That's the ambition and the intention of our government. We are the Labour Party and we don't leave the poorest people behind. Every time we've been in government, whether it's tackling pensioner poverty or child poverty under the last government and successive Labour governments, we support the poorest people in society. But what we cannot do is allow those people to pay a very heavy price for the economic chaos and instability that we've had over the last few years. And that's why we're fixing the foundations. That's why we've taken a difficult decision not to make this payment universal, but it's also why we're going out and doing everything that we can in order to make sure that there isn't a pensioner who is left out or left behind, and that we're supporting the very poorest. Now, charities like AgeUK are incredibly important to us in that we're working with the widest range of civil society organisations to make sure that we reach people. And if there are, I appreciate that people have different views about this, and I know that you have very strong views about the way in which we're implementing this policy, but the door is open and we are listening and we are determined to get this right.
Well, Secretary of State, thank you very much for your time. I hope you are right and I'm wrong, that there won't be hundreds of thousands of the poorest pensioners who should be getting winter fuel and pension credit who don't get it, but I don't believe it.
All right. Lisa, Nandy, thank you very much for being with us this morning.